hey, Unk.
Oh, yeah, Nep.
So, what do you think people think about when they first see you? That's that first moment. They walk into a room and they see you.
Well, I have an even better question.
Okay.
Why do people judge other people? I think it's because I'm right and you're wrong. And I think my way...
Are you
I
going to
could
keep
teach you
talking like that the whole time?
Whoa. Are you judging me right now?
Well, I just feel like you're trying to emphasize...
Okay, wait. So now we're talking about feelings. So how do you feel about how I'm responding to what this is?
Okay, so
all right, let's get into this. So
is the feelings a forced perspective, or is it a perspective of how the outcome should be?
I think it depends.
Or is it...
I want to say it depends because forced would be you feel like your way is right and you want me to do it your way.
Okay.
And I feel like the other way is less invasive. Like, I don't like what you're doing, but then I don't want to tell you what to do. It's weird to me, like raising kids when I was raising my boys.
Yeah.
To me, I had other parents tell me stuff about the kids, and I was like, I understand that, but I want to, like, I'm not going to tell my son to be careful crossing the street. Like, that doesn't seem wise to me because if I don't teach him that, they could get hit by a car.
You're saying somebody's... What is the perspective there?
Where I am, I'm the authority, I guess.
Okay.
And I'm trying to teach somebody something.
Okay.
I think that's different than judgment, where if I feel like you're doing something and I maybe have a better way that makes it easier to get the job done, let's say, I'm going to maybe share that with you. And I think it's how I share it with you is what makes you feel either you're being judged or looked down upon, or whether you feel like I'm nurturing you and trying to help you.
Okay. So do you think it's right? As soon as you walk into a room and they see this guy with this big, tall, bald dude with tattoos and these gauges in his ears, do you think it's okay for somebody to go like, ugh, like what's that guy all about?
I think it comes back to their worldview. Like I was saying on our last video, you look at me in a certain way. I used to have long hair down to my belt, and people judged me for that, where they thought either I was a woman from behind or, that I did drugs or whatever. And then when I started losing my hair and decided to shave my head, then all of a sudden people think I'm like a Nazi and I hate black people and I'm just judgmental and I'm not covered with ink. Oh, some people are like, oh, where did you do time at? What prison were you in? I'm like, I've never been in prison. So I think it's their worldview. Like he has to be something wrong with him, or he has to be a criminal. Something has to be not right with him because he has all those tattoos. What is that? Why is he doing that?
Well, so I'm hearing a common thing here, and it's that worldview.
Yeah.
Why do you think the worldview shapes the way that we think?
Because my dad, I grew up in Chicago. So my dad, growing up in Chicago, he was not racist in any way. I already don't like the word racist because we're all the same. We're all human race to me. We have ethnic backgrounds. But my dad was never considered a racist in the way the world called it. They see your skin color and all of a sudden they judge you. So I grew up in a place where that happened a lot, but not with my dad. So I think it comes from my mom and dad. So they're the ones bringing me up, and I see you treat everybody the same. Doesn't matter the color of their skin. If a man wants to work next to you and he works just as hard as you do, then you work together. That kind of thing. So my worldview growing up, before I ever knew God or knew anything about that, my worldview growing up is that basically like a man's not worth his spit if he can't shake your hand and look you in the eye, kind of thing. So I think it absolutely comes from our parents and our upbringing. You hear so many stories, kids born and before he can even talk, dad bolts or mom bolts, and then they grow up into a single parent home. I mean, it all affects that kid, and then when they grow up.
So there's So basically, there's a psychological event that's happening, and consistently, really. I mean, like in the case of the parent bolting, young age, that parent no longer has, or that kid no longer has that parent, there's a psychological traumatic event happening, and you're saying that's kind of molding them in, or to the kid with the two parents like you had. Your parents.
Yeah, they were together since they were 16.
They weren't the normal American
not
family.
Nowadays.
They were actually together for your whole life. But
exactly.
That worldview shaped the way that you perceive.
Absolutely. Because I look back and I think of those things. I think of that a lot. And a lot of my responses and stuff kind of remind me of my dad, which is kind of cool when you think about it too. And then I've noticed in my studies and looking at things too, like there's kids that have been, let's say, molested when they were young, and their worldview changes into that. And that's where we get pornography and stuff from, because they feel loved when they're being basically sexually abused. They feel like that's love to them. Well, that's not healthy. That's not a healthy worldview, because they're putting themselves in danger. It's the same kind of thing as if I grow up thinking that just because of the color of your skin, you're not as good as I am. That's dangerous. That's not healthy. There's nothing healthy about that.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm happy that I grew up in a place that, a lot of my friends were of different color, and it never even occurred to me. It was just they were my friends, and they were my friends because what are friends? I mean, they back you up, they stand with you, they fight with you, they cry with you, and that's all that mattered to me. They didn't stab you in the back, and they were honest with you, and that to me doesn't matter, the color of your skin. Anybody can do that.
So those kinds of things, like in your childhood, you had friends that didn't stab you in the back, etc. Right. That kind of shaped you to be the man that you are today, to where you really test outside of a biblical perspective. Right. You really test how people treat you, and then that dictates what you're going to perceive of them.
Of that person, because that's what they designed for themselves. So I had a business before, and I've done trade work before, and I've done this my whole life. And there's times where I'll do trade work for somebody, and I'm up front, so I do the trade work, and then they don't hold up their end of the bargain. And then they come back and they want some more stuff, and I'm like, I can't do that with you. And it upsets them. But if they could step outside of themselves and look at what they've done, they've designed this atmosphere around me that they're just going to take from me and not give back. Well, they can go do that elsewhere. I don't want to do that. So then it saddens me that people can be like that, but it also helps me grow in wisdom, where now I would probably be more like, okay, well, I know I can hold up the end of my bargain because I always have. So let's meet in the middle, or I don't want to do it at all.
So the action demands a reaction.
I think so. People want to be respected, but have you earned that respect? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You don't just respect a child molester. It's like, wait a minute, you're ruining some little kid's life. Why should I respect you? And that's worldwide. You see, I've even heard from friends of mine who are prison guards that they, when these people go to prison, they're sought out to be dealt with, because even these guys who are brutal murderers want those guys to suffer what they've done to a little child. So,
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because now the people who are judged within the prison system are now judging the judged.
Exactly.
Right? So going back to the main question, okay, what you asked is, why do we judge?
I think we judge because of our worldview. And maybe part of it is, I think absolutely part of it is our upbringing. What kind of parents did we have? Because like they say, from the age when you're born to like 5 is the most you get really from your parents. And then after that, you're building on your own personality. So I think a big part of it is your parents and your upbringing. And then after that, it's what you do in the world with yourself. And you do different things. Like you could, like we talked about this the other day. For some reason, and I think it's because of my dad, I don't litter. So the other day, I was like, there was no trash can around, and we laughed about this, but I had this piece of paper in my hand. I just tossed it on the ground. I got in my truck and I shut the door, and I opened my truck door and I picked up the paper and I put it in my truck because I couldn't drive away with that being on the ground. That's something I think I got when I was a kid, because my dad, I can remember him. Hey, you don't litter. You don't do that. You don't do that. You pick that up, And then as an adult, I see it, and I see people, flip their cigarettes out the window. I see them dump trash on the side of the road. And I'm like, how can they do that? So then here I am judging them. How can they do that? Well, probably because of their upbringing. Yeah. Or they really don't care about their environment, stuff like that.
So that's the worldview of it.
Can you save me, Lord? Can you save me? Can you save me from my...
Hey, Unk!
Yeah, no. What's up, bro?
Question.
I got scared.